Throughout the course of time, art has evolved and developed tremendously. Art is no longer simply observed in just a museum or an art gallery. Today, we're going to dive into a very contemporary and out-of-the-box style of art called street art. Before we begin looking into specific street artists and artworks, it's important to notate a few key elements that define the street art movement. For starters, street art is unsanctioned art, meaning it's not confined to the walls of a museum, but rather extended to everyday spaces such as a bus stop, on the sidewalks, on buildings throughout cities, just about anywhere you wouldn't expect art to be. Street art reaches a much larger and more diverse audience than your standard museum-based artwork. In the book Political Street Art, Communication, Culture, and Resistance in Latin America, Holly Ava Ryan details the idea that street art, no matter what the context may be, is seen in two very different lights across the world. She expresses that some people view street art as a taking back of the public space, while some view it as more of a nuisance and just pure vandalism. Just like with almost any style of art, street art is subject to the discretion of its audience, and it almost always has a message that the artist is trying to deliver to the public. During the span of the most recent presidential campaign and election, and even hereafter, an influx of politically inspired street art surfaced with some pretty intriguing messages attached to them. Some were to inspire a change in the public vote, some were to provide support for a certain candidate or group, and some were used to simply take the minds of the public off the topic that filled the nation's conversations. Lyman Chafee explains in his book Political Protests and Street Art that street art is an effective and unique style of propaganda that is used to express personal political beliefs and extend those beliefs to an everyday audience. Now that we have a little bit of background on street art and how it plays a part in politics, let's go ahead and move forward and analyze a few pieces by some artists who use their platform to extend their beliefs to the public. The piece shown here is called Dumb Trump by the politically inspired street artist Sabo. What I found interesting about this piece and a lot of other artworks is that the piece is not just posted in one place. The piece was posted on bus stops, park benches, even on the 405 freeway signs, so obviously reaches a very big audience. The fact that with street art it's so easily transferable, it usually gets to a more vast audience, therefore, affecting more of a public view. With this specific piece, it depicts a silhouette family of immigrants running, presumably crossing the border together, with large block words above stating, "Undocumented Democrats say dump Trump." It's no doubt that Sabo was trying to express a very opinionated idea to the public regarding 2016 presidential candidate Donald Trump. Interesting enough, this was actually one of the few pieces I saw of street art during the election that was actually in favor of Trump. So Sabo believes that the media was very in favor of Democratic opinions and that Trump was portrayed by the media as being anti-immigrant and racist, when in reality he's just against having an open border that's not regulated enough to stop people who are harmful to our country from entering. As you can see from this piece, street art can be very simple, yet the fact that it's so prominent in everyday society makes it a very useful platform for politics. The next piece we're going to talk about is actually a mural painting by street artist Leshix. It was done on the side of a building in Melbourne, Australia. The piece depicts Hillary Clinton wearing a very risque American flag bikini with money tucked in the bottom part of the swimsuit. The mural is actually very large scale, taking up the entirety of the building wall. Leshix uses street art to get a much different political opinion out to his audience. The provocation of the female presidential candidate is symbolic of the gender bias that still exists in politics today. No matter how qualified a woman is for a position, no matter how intelligent, educated, professional, women are still oftentimes seen as sexual figures. So the piece is also very simple, more so just a disordered painting of someone, but still holds a lot of meaning behind it. And once again, we can see that street art is a very effective tool to get an opinion across, and definitely can play a big role in shaping political views to the public. As you can see, looking at the face, it's not overly detailed, but it stands out and catches people's eye, creating more questions and making more people think. So this is not something you would expect to see walking down the street, and I think that the unexpectedness of the artwork is one of the unique qualities of street art. To conclude, I think it's important to note that just like social media or the news or popular opinion of friends and family, how that helps shape our political views and decisions, street art is another powerful method of getting a view across and potentially shifting someone's political choices. The benefit of street art versus most other artistic styles is that street art has the potential to reach such a vast audience. You don't have to pay to experience it. Although there is no scientific data that confirms whether or not street art has the power to shift the tide of politics completely, it's no doubt that it encourages the public in urban environment to think outside the box and allows artists an opportunity to channel their beliefs and ideas to an audience that can make a difference.